Common Sense Realty Show.
A common sense approach to real estate.
I'm Kurt Boomer Schenk from The Right Creative with
Carmen Lonardo.
The star.
The star of the show.
Of the show.
From Remax Realty Group.
I tried a mic hog. You see, I'm doing it now. But yeah, you are the star.
Can you say that again?
You are the star.
Thank you.
Now that's going to become a drop, and Fitz is going to be throwing that in every now and then. Give me your contact info, please, Carmen.
Sure. Cell phone is the easiest way to get a hold of me. Text, call anytime, 233-4119. Of course, email carmen.lonardo@remax.net. And Fitz will be putting that on the bottom of the screen.
LCG that stuff.
So you don't have to worry about how to spell it because it's going to be right in front of you.
Awesome.
Yep.
We have two guests today. Mark Gunther, a licensed attorney and partner of the firm, Over Courts. I'll get that right eventually, Mark.
Exactly.
Let me practice that. And Greg Speiss of Eastside Wildlife Control. We will get to those guests shortly, but first we're going to talk about what's going on in real estate. Carmen, what is going on?
Well, the market is just starting to gear up for the spring. Here we are, in the beginning of the year, and things are happening. I've gotten calls already from past clients who are going to be selling their homes and moving up this year. So we're going on appointments to look at homes and start getting them ready for the spring market. Some homes are starting to pop up here and there that are listed for sale. I think it's going to be a great year. They're forecasting interest rates to stay under 4%.
Wow.
For the year, which is just insane money. The economy is just churning along. The Dow is now pushing 30,000, which is really helping out all of our retirement accounts. And really what that's doing is boosting consumer confidence. It's at an all-time high of 96%. Inflation rate is under 2%. Unemployment rate is about 4%. Everything looks fantastic for a great real estate year. And, unfortunately, you don't hear this great news, in the news media because they talk about other stuff. But, it's not really doom and gloom. And it's a great time to both buy and sell.
What does an election year do to real estate in your experience? Anything?
No. Regardless of who the players are, there's always doom and gloom reporting about the economy trying to hurt the administration that's currently in the hopes to sway voters. Invariably during election year, I'll always have clients ask about the economy and, why it's so bad. And then this is why, I take every opportunity to say how wonderful the economy really is, because, you really don't hear that in the news, particularly in an election year.
Anything else that you'd want to point out about the market locally? Or nationally, for that matter.
Well, nationally and, locally, we're just a microcosm, of what's going on nationally. There is going to continue to be, some stress on the inventory. The inventory isn't where it should be. And for those who don't understand what I mean by inventory, it's the number of houses for sale. Although they are projecting that new home sales this year should be up by 50,000, and existing home sales should be up by 100,000 by the end of the year, for a total volume of a little over 5.5 million units, which is fantastic.
That sounds great to me.
6 million units would be a record year. So. Last year, was about 5.5 million. So we're churning it up.
That's good.
Yeah. It's all good news.
Because I know last year, new homes was an issue, especially, with the inventory being low on existing and, everybody hitting that median price range of 150 to 2-something. And
right.
And then older people are staying in their homes because they can refit them and do different things. So,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else? should we go to our first guest?
Well, let's go to our guests. They have a lot to offer. Mark Gunther is an attorney that I do a lot of deals with. And, everybody always asks, what do I need an attorney for in my real estate transaction? And so I thought we'd bring Mark along today and, we can hear it right from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So Mark, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to join you guys.
Tell us a little bit about, what your role is, both on the sell side and on the buy side. And then sometimes you also represent the lender, right?
Correct. I've been practicing for about 27 years now, representing buyers, sellers, and lenders in real estate transactions, both commercial and residential, but probably the bulk of my work is residential. And that's certainly a fair question about why do I need an attorney and what's their role in the process. And I remind people that this is probably one of the biggest financial transactions they're ever going to be involved in. And you really need someone there to steer the process, advocate for you, and make sure you're comfortable with the process. It can be tricky. Each deal is unique. We do have a form contract, but as most forms are, they don't fit every transaction. So we're worried that we're tailoring the contract to fit your particular needs, whether you're the buyer or the seller, and answer questions and guide you along the way. My involvement traditionally starts when I receive the contract, and I'll reach out and contact the client, whether it be a buyer or a seller, and review that with them. But I always encourage people, if you have questions or concerns, even before you enter into the contract, give me a call. Let's talk about your concerns. And people's concerns are usually put to rest, or we can circle back with Carmen and say, well, let's make sure when we're writing up the contract, we provide for this particular provision.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one of the things that always didn't sit well with me in writing up these contracts, whether it was a listing contract, but more particularly a purchase contract, is you'd work with a buyer and show them a bunch of houses, and then they'd say, this is the one I want to buy. And you'd sit at their kitchen table usually, or at a Dunkin' Donuts, and you'd fill in this purchase and sale contract, their offer, which when signed becomes a contract. They've never seen this document before, and then you just stick 14 pages in front of them and say, sign an initial. That never sat well with me because they really haven't had an opportunity to look at it and read it over, and it's not complicated. But what I've been doing now for several years is as soon as I know that I'm going to be working with a buyer, I prepare a packet for them. And one of the things that's in the packet, little shameless promotion here, is my home buyer guide that people can get by texting me or emailing me if they like. Happy to send that to you. And the other thing that I put in the packet is a blank purchase and sale contract in the more common forms, the addendums that go with it. And I tell them, it's yours, read it over, highlight, underline, write notes in the margin so that next time we get together, if there's something you don't understand, you can say, hey, Carmen, what does this mean? Or, they can, speak to their attorney and say, what's this mean? What are the implications of this? So that we're not sitting in front of, sitting at your kitchen table and I stick this contract in front of you and you've never seen it before.
Right.
And I think that helps a lot. And I think people appreciate that.
I would agree. I think it's a great way to prepare people, and you're doing it at a time when they're not emotionally involved.
Right.
They can look at it at their leisure, digest it, ask questions, consult with their realtor, their attorney, whatever professional they need to discuss things with to make sure they're comfortable. So when the time comes that they find the house that they love, they're comfortable putting in that offer.
Yeah. And, one thing, too, I want to mention, because it's so easy to think that an attorney will get a purchase and sale contract and basically just, it's a form contract. We just fill in the blanks and they just, rubber stamp it. actually do go through this thing, line by line, and every once in a while you'll catch something that's not filled in, particularly on property condition disclosures. So it's not just a quick rubber stamp.
It's a second set of eyes, Carmen, and I think that helps. And we do pick up on things here and there. And I think the key to it, though, is communication with both the realtor and with the client. If they have particular requirements or concerns, let them know, tell us about them. And then we can address those concerns. And maybe it means we need to modify the contract in some way, shape, or form. That's not unheard of, but now's the time to do that. The problem is sometimes people don't communicate that, and we get further down the line, and we're now invested in the process, and maybe we've reached a point of no return without significant legal consequences, and this all could have been prevented. So I always encourage people to discuss their plans and concerns right from the outset. I mean, that's what we're here for. I'm happy to discuss them with people and, make it known where you want to go here.
Right. So obviously, buying a piece of property and selling a piece of property are two different things. What are some of the key differences in representing buyers and sellers?
Well, I think with the buyer, you have to go through and make sure they're aware of the contingencies and the timeframes to meet those contingencies and what is contained in each contingency, and what their obligations are. A lot of common contingencies are obviously attorney approval. You have inspection contingency quite often. You have mortgage contingencies. And people need to understand that there's timeframes and there's consequences, and they should make sure they're paying attention to those timeframes. And that's where the realtor and attorney come into play to make sure that they're being put in the proper position so they can deal with those contingencies. Representing a seller, there's some requirements as far as gathering title work, such as a survey and an abstract, and we usually get started on that right away, make sure that we're conveying good, clean title, and we have an opportunity to review it, get it over to the buyer's attorney. They're going to review it. So we try to move things along in that way so there isn't a bottleneck at the end.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned abstract. That's the abstract of title.
Yes,
that's
sorry.
Called. So what exactly is that? We hear what an abstract is. Some people think that it's the deed, but it's not the deed. Help us with that.
No, that's a fair question. The abstract of title is in our community is a 60-year search, and it goes back to the prior warranty deed 60 years back. And that's what a buyer's attorney reviews to make sure there's good, clean title. And in there's going to be a reference to prior deeds, prior mortgages. If there were any judgments filed against the property, that's all going to show up in there. It's not the actual document. It's a condensed version. So it references the various documents that are recorded in the county clerk's office. And sometimes in reviewing title, you need to then go to the county clerk's office and actually pull up a copy of the document that's referenced in the abstract. Mm-hmm. But the abstract's really the starting point.
Is that sometimes where you'll catch, for example, an old mortgage that wasn't discharged properly?
That's one of the more common things we see is open mortgages. So anytime a mortgage is placed on a property and that's recorded against the title to the property, the only way to cancel that mortgage or negate it would be to file a discharge of mortgage in the county clerk's office. And previously, lenders haven't always been diligent in recording those discharges. So what comes up is, an open mortgage. Even though it's been paid off, it needs to be addressed. And in representing a buyer, obviously we want to make sure that the seller addresses that prior to closing so the buyer doesn't inherit that obligation when they go to sell.
Mm-hmm. We've talked on the podcast here almost in every episode about the competitive market and multiple offers and bidding and, some weird practices that have occurred, most of which are unethical. Have you ever had to be involved in disputes relating to which offers prevail on a property or anything like that?
Yes, I have. And it's a difficult position because at the end of the day, someone's going to win and someone's going to lose, and no one likes to lose. I take the perspective that I have an obligation to represent my client. I present to them both offers and go through the pros and cons of each offer and let them decide how they want to proceed. At the end of the day, it's their decision how to proceed, and whether it's more money, quicker closing, less contingencies, whatever the differences are, it's my job to point those out to the seller in this case, and for the seller to make the decision on which is truly the better offer for them.
Mm-hmm.
Those almost sound like things your agent should be doing too, though. Can people get confused in are you part of the negotiation process, or is there a thin line there? Or?
Well, sometimes it gets some of the multiple offers, particularly when there are multiple offers and multiple escalation clauses. It can get a little tricky and dicey about which one is the better offer and which one should prevail over the others. And sometimes there is the potential to get into a legal quagmire, and so that's when it's important to bring in the attorney or attorneys to help deal with that, so that we are not offering our clients legal advice on how to proceed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, there is a thin line, Kurt, and sometimes it's during the negotiation stage. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times it's further in. So we've already approved one contract, and there may be some contingencies in that contract, and another buyer comes along and wants to put an offer in. So it's the attorney's job to make sure that there's the opportunity to even accept this other offer. Gotcha. Then we can talk the specifics, and there's a lot of requirements, very specific requirements, as to notice, et cetera, if you're terminating a contract or whatever the case may be. So that's one of our very important jobs, is to make sure that we're navigating those areas properly, so we don't end up with potentially two buyers on the same house.
Mark, you mentioned being able to work with folks before they get into the real estate market to review contracts and needs and wants and so forth. If somebody wanted to contact you and set up a time to meet with you, how would they do that?
Happy to meet with anyone. Probably the best way is to give me a call. My phone number, 387-0500 extension 29. Again, 387-0500 extension 29. My email, I'll give it out. Unfortunately, our firm name is a little confusing, so I'll spell it out and say it. It's Mark, M-A-R-K, at olvercourts.com. That's OLVERKORTS.com. Mark at olvercourts.com.
Great.
Yeah, I couldn't say that for my first three tries this morning, during at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it
great.
was almost a tongue twister.
Oh, it was for me.
Can you say
sure.
it 5 times fast?
No, I don't think I can even say it. over. See,
over.
Really, this is water.
Yeah,
this is water. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Mark.
Thanks, Kurt.
Hang with us as we go to our next guest, Greg Speiss with East Side Wildlife Control. I think it's pretty obvious to say what you do with them critters.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I've been in business for 20 years, working with property managers, working with real estate agents. As you were saying about contingencies, a lot of contingencies are critters in the attic. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of do's and don'ts you hear. The internet, we got to take that in percentages as to, well, if I get some ammonia and put it up on a rag and put it where the squirrels are. It's going to get rid of the squirrels. Well, that's all based on parts per million. It will irritate anybody. If I go to bed and someone puts a rag of ammonia on my pillow, yeah, I'm going to get up. But it's not a permanent solution. Mothballs, as we were talking before. And you get on the internet, it's all wives' tale, and it'll work temporarily. But mothballs work great for moths.
Right.
They're not meant for animal deterrent.
Yeah, and I guess we were talking about this before the show. Sometimes people, excuse me, combine solutions or will combine different products, different chemicals that can be toxic and lethal.
Ammonia and
Yeah.
bleach.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that can kill you. And simply mothballs. You don't, even on the package, it's...
He brought mothballs.
He's brought some
I
mothballs
bought
for me and
mothballs.
for all of us
Actually,
to ingest.
you could put it in your, have it in your vodka there, a little stir, don't shake.
Give it a little flavor.
There you go. But mothballs, they're toxic. They're toxic to everything, human beings. You're throwing them around outside in a woodchuck hole or whatnot. The kids are out there.
Right.
The animals are out there.
Your
Your
pets.
dog, your
Yeah.
cat.
Yeah. They eat them. They're done.
Oof.
Kids get in there. They got hand to mouth all the time. They get this residue on them. They're going to get sick and potentially worse.
So, I think it's safe to say that to be a professional in your industry, you need to know more than just about the critters themselves.
Absolutely.
Right. And I see you got a patch on your shoulder there, and another one over there.
Yep.
What are these certifications that you have?
These are organizations. New York State Wildlife Management Association. When I started doing this, I reached out to as many associations as I could. To me, that was my best education, working with other operators and learning from them firsthand. If I had any problems, I'd call up folks I knew from NUCOA, which is national. The more organizations I feel you can be a part of, the better off you are.
You have mail.
I know. Oh, I've got mail.
Is that what that was?
That actually might have been a thought coming into my head, which isn't that often.
Wow.
Or a
That's right.
thought exiting.
Yeah.
Well, I was.
So you
I
brought
saw
the funny guy.
Saw the question mark
Yeah.
over your head.
Yes.
Little bubble there. Yeah. Back to our guest talking about pests.
Yeah, we got one right here. I can't do much
I
about
see,
him.
obviously. Wow.
Yeah.
Getting up.
All right. Keep going. Yeah. No. But are you certified? Do you have
Yes.
certain licenses?
You have to be certified. You got to be certified through the state and to use lethal traps, which I commonly use. I know it might not be politically correct and
Right.
all, but it's a tool of trade, and there's effective tools, and the most effective in my case is lethal trapping, and you have to have a DEC certification and New York State license as a fur trapper. I'm an instructor for New York State, trapping instructor. I have my cable restraint certification for beaver work. There's a lot of stuff you have to do this.
Sure.
And the average homeowner doesn't know that. They'll get a trap like we were talking earlier.
Right.
Go to Home Depot, you get the cage trap. They're catching the animal. They think they can just throw it in the car, take it to the park, let it go. Under New York State, you can't do that. You can't even transport. As soon as you leave the driveway, that's a
So you could get
that's a lot.
into like
You-
some trouble then.
Yeah,
Right?
you could get
get
in-
you a woodchuck or something that's in your tomato
yeah,
plants. And
yeah.
think you're doing something good, and the next thing you know,
and it's and
you have a real bad day.
and you have a real bad day. And the thing is with rabies vector, like we were talking before, it's not a good day when the raccoon gets out of the back of the Subaru and is chomping on your arm. But when you transport animals, especially with something like rabies, and like we're going through now with this coronavirus thing, it's all about mobility. Okay, so if you get an infected animal and you transport that to another, you're infecting another population.
Sure.
of animals, okay, which potentially can spill over to animal-human conflict and spread disease to human beings.
Right.
So that's a big reason that transportation is regulated through certification. And even where you do let it go, like me, for instance, with my certification, I can't go to the park and let it go. I have to get permission from the state. Mm-hmm. If I do it on private property, I go to Carmen's house. He says, yeah, I got 20 acres. You can let it go there. I have to have written permission from you.
Interesting.
So, your alternative is to either euthanize it or let it go on your property. I have property in Naples, so
Yeah.
if I catch release, I just release on my property.
Honestly, full disclosure, I would just tell you to bring it to Kurt's house.
Are we tough enough on Kurt?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, just bring it to Kurt's house.
no, zucchini flowers.
Yeah,
for you.
right.
Zucchini flowers for me. I want to interrupt here for just a second and let folks know that both Greg and Mark are on my list of pros. They can, folks want this, they can call or email or send me a text message. Happy to send it to them in the mail, or also have a PDF version to send them electronically if they like. Greg, tell us, what are some of the most common pests that you deal with that a homeowner would see?
Yeah, that's a seasonal thing. Like right now, it's squirrels. Breeding season for squirrels is right now. Actually, squirrels are 24/7. The houses in the city, like the zombie housing thing, these are being taken over by squirrels and raccoons. And a lot of the property managers that have apartments and whatnot, they keep me very busy this time of year. Again, it's breeding season for the gray squirrels. Females are looking for refuge, looking to nest. And once they do in a house, whether it's occupied or non-occupied, that female becomes imprinted and that whole litter becomes imprinted. So this is where we have the problem in the city, or for that matter, residential right out here in Pittsford, where you get these squirrels. They don't know a hollow tree. They know a house. Mm-hmm. So when they're born in a house, that's what they look for.
Wow.
Never knew that.
Yeah.
Learning something new.
Yeah.
And that's, and that goes with anything, raccoons. And they adapt to us. They love us. Everyone thinks that all this housing, these tracks come in and we're cutting down woods and the animals are dispersing because we're invading. It's farthest from the truth. We plant Texas hues. We plant all kinds of vegetation that attracts deer. Mm-hmm. It's browse. They have to have browse to digest their food. Raccoons, fox, coyotes, squirrels, that's obvious. Look at any trash can in the city. It's got 10 holes in it this big.
Sure.
From squirrels chewing in to get a pizza crust or whatever. They're eating black walnuts, which they would in the wild, but they're opportunists. Everything is an opportunist. Mm-hmm. And they'll habituate to our scraps. Hence, we're feeding them, we're giving them shelter. This is where the animal-human conflict situation, which keeps me in business,
right,
is the problem.
So you got squirrels. You see bats, mice.
Bats. Again, that's yearly. That's a seasonal thing. Right now, they've all migrated. Mm-hmm. They're in the caves and the mines downstate, northern Pennsylvania, Hudson Valley. And in the springtime, they come back here and they have nursery colonies. Okay, the nursery colonies, again, big thing is with imprinting and bats and nursery colonies, they'll come back to the same spot every single year and put down their young. Okay, so the big browns have there's two species of bats. I know this is probably long-winded, but there's two species of bats. The little browns are getting decimated with white nose syndrome. I don't know if you guys...
White nose syndrome?
White nose syndrome. It's blast. It's just decimating.
I had that in college.
Yeah.
Nothing a penicillin can't fix, right? But yeah, bats, raccoons, European starlings, invasive species.
Right.
European starlings are big. All my calls I get from you guys is basically squirrels, bats, and birds.
And birds.
Yep.
What's the largest critter you've had to corral?
Coyotes. Well, I pulled a dead deer out of a swimming pool one time.
Wow.
How was your day at work, honey?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh dear, literally. That was
Bucking the system again, Kurt.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Do, re, mi. You brought some stuff with you besides the mothballs.
Yeah.
Show us what you got there.
All right. All I did was bring. Actually, this is an excluder, but I can use it as a demonstration for a cage trap. Excluder is nothing more than a one-way. This door goes up. So if I got squirrels or I got birds, that door will go up. And the animal will get out. If I don't want it to get out and I want to take it away, if it's a pregnant squirrel or whatnot, door goes up. Animal gets in here. I take it away. Release it on my property. If it's sick, it's euthanized. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially rabies vector. And this here is a tube trap, and this is lethal. We were talking about before with lethal trapping. So for squirrels on a roof, and I do a lot of roof trapping. So if I get squirrels, you call me. You have a client that it's contingent on this. I'll use this trap on the roof. Now you think.
Here, hold that up a little bit. Yeah, over here.
How's that work?
There you go.
You think, boy, that's inhumane because it kills it. On the contrary, if I have a cage trap up on a roof, okay, this time of year, how long do you think that squirrel's going to last in that cage?
Yeah, with the cold, you mean?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
And I have to check by law every 24 hours. Mm-hmm. All right. So that animal is either going to freeze to death in this weather. In the summertime, it's going to do the opposite.
Dehydrate.
It's going to dehydrate.
Yeah.
And if it rains, it's going to get hypothermia. Mm-hmm. All right. This trap here will euthanize it instantaneously. So these are old mink traps. Used to use these back in the day for mink, but they're great for squirrels. Squirrel goes in, hits the kill bar goes up, euthanized right away. Mm-hmm. Extremely humane, as opposed to the alternative with the cage trap.
Where they freeze to death.
Yes.
Right.
It's Mother Nature is far crueler than we could be.
Right.
Okay, and it's efficient. It's an efficient method. I know a lot of people are, unfortunately probably saying, well, that's inhumane. Well, we have to to consider what humane and inhumane.
Yeah, and when they get 20 squirrels in their attic, I mean,
amen.
What are you going to do, folks?
Exactly.
Sorry, it's the reality.
Call Greg.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How do they? How can people reach you?
Call me. The best way to do it would be call me 585-259-2729 or text me at that number. You're probably better off texting me because I'm doing a lot of driving. I have a lot of drive time with my stops and whatnot. And if I'm not driving, I'm usually on a roof checking traps. So that's the best way. You can email me at eastsidewildlifecontrol at gmail.com. And if you can't get a hold of me, there's other operators, but you can always go to New York State Wildlife Management Association, and they'll have a list of operators for all over the state that will service your area. But to get me for Rochester, Greater Rochester area, again, it's 585-259-2729.
Mm-hmm. So, Mark, I'm curious, have you ever gotten a deal where there was some nuisance wildlife that had to be taken care of?
I've done this for 27 years. I like to think I've seen it all. And yes, I've certainly had my fair share of wildlife stories. A lot of times, as you pointed out, there's bats, squirrels. I've even had pets left behind, although we wouldn't need Greg for that. But you do this long enough, you see a lot of stuff out there.
I bet.
Well, perfect segue.
Or Carmen Cooks.
Carmen Cooks.
The best part of the show.
Any squirrel recipes?
Wow. What's in them vittles?
Yeah, Greg's coming back.
Didn't know you brought a comedian.
Yeah. No, so here, we hear Sunday sauce all the time. And, I stumbled on something that was just fantastic. It just took my Sunday sauce, my last batch, to another level. So, like most people, I'll brown my meats, my meatballs, my pork, and my sausage, my brujol sometimes, right? And then I'll put that in the sauce, but I will start the sauce with fresh oil. But what I did this last go around, which I think everybody should try because it literally takes the flavor content of the sauce and just jacks it up. So take that oil that you brown your meat in and put it through a sieve to get all of the solids out of it, right? And then reuse that oil and not fresh oil in your sauce. It just the flavor is just uncontrollable.
What made you do that? Did you see somebody do that? On the
No,
show?
I had this flashback of my aunt doing that when I was a kid, and her sauce was always spectacular. So I thought I'd give it a whirl and see, and it really did make a tremendous difference in flavor. Absolutely, highly recommend it.
Sounds good. I'll be over Sunday.
All right, come on over.
Yeah, I want to see that done.
Bring over a bottle of wine. Well, no, let's not do that.
It's a
Last
little
time.
inside story. It fell out of my car and it broke on his driveway. I was not happy.
Yeah, that's all right.
So I'd like to thank our guest, Mark. Where can they find you again, Mark Gunther?
Mark at overcourts.com, 387-0500, extension 29.
And Greg?
Eastside Wildlife Control, you can contact me at 585-259-2729 or text or Eastside Wildlife Control at gmail.com.
And the star of the show.
Well, 233-4119, call or text. That's a cell phone number. And, of course, Carmen.Lonardo at remax.net.
Awesome. I'd like to thank Fitz for another great job here at Rock Vox. If you are interested in doing a podcast like this, very professional. He makes it easy.
Oh, wow, look, cool.
It looks he even makes us look good, us guys.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it. Lots of filters.
It cannot be a real estate podcast, though.
Correct. If you enjoy our podcast, please subscribe and rate us on your favorite podcast platform. Would be very kind of you to do. And I'm Kurt Boomer Schenk with
Carmen Lonardo,
and this is the Carmen Sense Realty Show.
a common sense approach to real estate.
And we'll see you again soon, folks. Thanks for watching and listening.
So long.
You are the star.
Thank you.